Fish Tank Pump to Water Fountain, The Process and How It Works by Megan Miller. When we were assigned this project, I kept thinking and thinking about what to do. I just wasn't sure. It wasn't until over Thanksgiving break, when I was sitting at my grandmother's house, that I heard her water fountain on her table. And I thought, wow, what a great idea! I could do this by using materials at my house and create a water fountain. The first thing I had to figure out was how to make a water pump. Easy, right? Not so much. I took apart a fish tank filter pump and reversed the flow and used it as the water pump for my fountain. I found a bunch of great materials laying around my house, like bowls with lids, cups, kids' stackable cups. The options were endless. So first I thought, how cool would it be to use kids' cups as part of my fountain? They would stack, the fountain would go up through, it'd be great. The water would trickle down, it would incorporate color and all sorts of different things. This is one of the designs I came up with. However, when I kept thinking about it some more, I realized that this was not going to be an effective plan. The water was not going to flow the way I anticipated, and it was just going to be a big mess. So back to the drawing board. I quickly realized the kids' stackable cups were not going to be something that I could use with my fountain. So I was thinking and thinking and thinking and came up with the idea of using cups, bowls, and lids to create my fountain. To start creating my fountain, I realized that I wasn't going to be able to put holes in the containers with a knife or scissors. So I got thinking and came up with the idea to use a power tool. I went out to my garage, grabbed a drill and a 3/8 drill bit. The next thing I needed to do was begin drilling. The first thing I needed to drill was a hole in the bottom of the blue plastic cup. This would serve as the base of my water fountain. After the hole was drilled, I took the plastic tubing that attaches to the pump and put it up through the hole. Once that I had the tubing in place inside the cup, I took my water pump and attached it to the tubing. I then very carefully pulled the tubing up into the cup so that the pump sat inside the cup. Once my pump was in place, I placed it inside the biggest bowl. I then drilled holes into all the lids in order to use them in my water fountain. Once the hole was drilled, I took the lid and put the tubing through the lid. I then very carefully pulled the tubing through the lid and pushed the lid down onto the blue cup and secured it. Once the lid was secure, it was time to add the next layer. I took the drill and drilled a hole into the bottom of the next biggest size bowl available. Once the hole was in the bottom of the bowl, I put the hose through the bowl and pulled it tight. After that, I drilled a hole in the next blue cup. Once the hole was drilled in the cup, I took the tubing and put it through the hole of the cup. I then pulled the tubing through the cup until the cup was securely placed in the inside of the next bowl. I continued this step until I reached the final design. Now that I had my final design in place, it was time to test it. I added water and plugged the pump in. It was a mess. Water was going everywhere except the place it was supposed to be. This meant back to the drawing board to come up with a new design. As I watched the water fly everywhere, I realized that maybe if I flip the bowls upside down, the water will flow slower over the bowls and down into the base. So this was the next design I came up with. To do this, I took out the lids, took off all the stuff that I had put through the tubing, and did it the same exact way. However, instead of the bowls being upright, I flipped them upside down. I then added water to test it out. It was another failure. This time, the water didn't even flow correctly. So I had to go back to the drawing board and come up with yet another design. So after watching this, I kept thinking, man, I did all my designs I could think of. Now I really have to think about something new. I got talking and talking and talking, and I realized that the reason it wasn't flowing properly was because the fountain was too tall. So I came up with this design, which is just 3 bowls and 1 cup. I took the bowls, I flipped one upside down inside the base, and put the other on top. It then came time to test this design. I plugged the pump in, added water, and voila, success! I finally found a design that met my expectations and produced the flow of water that I was hoping to find. I then wanted to give my fountain a more naturalistic look, so I decided to head on down to our creek called the Muncie Creek and gather rocks of all different colors, shapes, and textures to add to my fountain. When I brought the rocks home, I realized that I needed to wash them because it would make the water of my fountain very dirty. So I put them in a bucket, rinsed them with water, and started picking out the best sizes to put on the different layers of the fountain. Once I added the rocks, I realized it was still missing something. So I got thinking and heard the water rippling and how beautiful it sounded. So I decided to add more holes around the top of the blue cup and the top of the white container. That way, water could flow in more directions and create more beautiful sounds. Let's take a moment to listen to how beautiful it sounds. Beautiful, right? Well, now came the tricky part. I had to add lighting to the fountain. But how was I going to add lighting with water? Electricity and water just don't mix. So I came up with the idea of using Christmas lights and attaching them around the base of the fountain. This gives it a naturalistic look and a look that children could see out in the community. The lighting also beautifully showed the movement of the water as it trickled through the fountain. I had never thought of using lighting to display the motion of water this way. After so many failures and so much hard work, it was great to sit back and enjoy the masterpiece. It's beautiful in the daylight or at night.